It's finally that time to talk about my top 10 books of 2023. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, that's right, top 10 books 2023, and oh boy, there was a lot of competition this year. I feel like with a lot of things that I read, it was just a lot of great books, a lot of books that I really had a fantastic time with, and I'm really excited to get in and talk about these. Starting with number 10 is No Heart for a Thief by James Lloyd Doolin. And this one made it and still was stuck in here. This was from one I read pretty early in the year, but is one that really stuck with me. And while I didn't like the sequel as much as this first one was still excellent, and the second one was still good. But this is following Kalo, who is a spirit thief, which is looked down upon and just like you're the most terrible of people, because you can take the spirit powers from other people, essentially. But he ends up involved in a lot of stuff going on when a group of people called the Goushed come in and are trying to take over this area and steal all the spirits themselves. So he kind of becomes the person who, as a spirit thief, may be important in fighting against that. And in the first book here, we have some dual storytelling where we're getting flashbacks of his life as he's telling a story, and also seeing him moving forward in current time and going, and just really fantastic. Set up a lot of great stuff, some great world building, just really good ending, and super solid book. And I'm excited to see how this one ends with the last book of the trilogy once that is out. All right, and then number 9, and this one is going to be The Legend of Deathwalker by David Gemmell. And this was hard because I did a lot of Draenei this year, and I enjoyed all of them. And there were several, and I wasn't quite sure where to put them. But I went with this one because Legend of Deathwalker on its own was great. But it was also just one of those books that it added something to Legend that just made Legend even better. And Legend was already fantastic. So I knew I had to have a Draenei book in this top 10 somewhere. And Legend of Deathwalker was definitely one of my favorites. I have no idea what my actual ranking of Draenei books in my head is, but definitely one of my favorites, one that I really enjoyed. So it fits here super well. It takes place actually technically during Legend, but then it's just telling a story of how he became to be known as Deathwalker, kind of, and then we flash back to there, but the entire story is taking place in the timeline. And just showing some really interesting stuff. And I did finish Draenei this year, and man, such a great series. I'll be definitely doing a video talking more about the series as a whole, and probably like a why you should read kind of thing there, because it's yeah, there's a lot to come. And then next up we have number 8, which is another one that I did audio of, and that is In the Eye of the Bedlam Bride, Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 6 by Matt Dinniman. And this series is just, it's ridiculous, but I love it so much more than I ever thought I would. I didn't think this was going to be for me, but I've enjoyed it. You've probably heard me talk about it. I know it's a very popular series, but it's just something I recommend trying because it is ridiculous, and there's a lot of, childish humor and stuff like that in there too, but the plot gets deeper, the stakes and everything gets deeper and bigger, and there's so much more going on. And this was a book. The first half of this book, I was not super feeling it, and then by the end, I was just completely enthralled with it as well. And so, it doesn't make it higher up because it wasn't like a perfect book, but just based on pure enjoyment, I absolutely loved this one too, especially the second half. Nonstop. I cannot wait to continue. It's just one of those series that I'm so excited to continue. Which each new book, I'm very impatiently awaiting. The next book, because I don't know when we're actually going to be getting that, but so excited. Definitely will be continuing such a fun series. And that gets us to number 7, which is We Men of Ash and Shadow by H.L. Tinsley. Another reminder that I really need to get to book 2 of this, because I love this, obviously. It's book 7 here for the year, but I have not yet gotten to book 2, and I really need to. But this book follows John Vanguard. He's an ex-soldier, and now he just lives in this very grim and gritty, dark city. And this really just epitomizes what I think of when I think of the grim part of grimdark. It's not like it's just trying to be over-the-top dark or edgy or anything. It's just, this is the city. It's grim. All of the people are gray. There aren't really any good guys. There aren't even really, for the most part, bad guys. It's just everybody kind of doing what they do, and some people are worse than others. But it just, it really pulled me in to this world that made it feel so real. And I'm so excited to see where this goes as well. I definitely need to prioritize book 2 of this very, very soon for 2024. So hopefully I'll do that, and we'll see. All right, and the number 6 that we are moving on to left, and yep, I do have 5 left, making sure I didn't miscount. Number 6, we have Gloves of Aons by Andrew D. Meredith. This is book 3 in the Collation Saga. This is one of those ones where I have loved these books. They work so well for me. They're just very much to my taste, and I really, really enjoyed them. And this book is building so much on the previous ones that it's hard to not have this up pretty high for me as well, but so much more going on here. I definitely recommend giving a shot to this, or if you aren't sure and want to try something shorter, his Needle and Leaf series is really good too. But the Collation Saga, if you like my kind of slow burn, world building heavy type of books that I often talk about and recommend, this is definitely one to check out. It's just, you feel like you're just being told this story, and there's so much to unravel, and I absolutely love it. So book 3, I won't get into any big details here, obviously, but I do reviews for all of them. And yeah, there's a lot of great stuff there as well. And then moving on to number 5, this one was another. There are a few in here that were surprises, but this could be a little bit of recency bias, because this one I read pretty recently, but I decided to put in His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik, the first book in Temeraire, because I read this just in November, and I really loved it. It was completely took me off guard. It was not at all what I thought it was going to be, and I really, really enjoyed so many things about it that were done and were just done really well. It was not at all, the kind of like YA, young boy finds a dragon and they go fighting thing, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a dragon is unplanned, ends up bonded to a sea captain in the middle of the like back in the Napoleonic Wars, and there's this whole corpse of people who work with dragons and dragons in general that are like the Air Corps for England. And it just was, it really did so many great things. It was such a great spin on the Dragon Rider kind of story, because of the fact that we had an older, set in his ways kind of person. The different beats that you hit and all kinds of bits of it, it worked so well for me. I had such a great time. This is one where if I would have read this way earlier in the year, it would still be on this list. It might not be as high, but I had so much fun with this. I have a review for it too if you want to hear more. And then the surprises keep coming here. As well too. We have with number 4, and we have Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. Now, when I say surprise, I mean, if you've watched me talk about, I really, really enjoyed this, but this is just, it's a book I've been trying to get people to read, because I was interested in it. I expected to probably like it, because I'd read his Ringsworn trilogy, but when I was approached on this one, I was just not at all expecting to really, really enjoy this as much as I did. This is really kind of written as old school sword and sorcery, or sword and sandals, or sorcery. However, there's a couple of different variations of it. But we are seeing Hanuvar, who's inspired definitely by Hannibal. And you're seeing him as he was the leader of this country. They were defeated, and now his goal is, instead of revenge, he's just trying to go and free as many of his people who were taken as slaves as possible, and just save a remnant of his people, basically. It's very episodic in this book, and has all kinds of just interesting things as they're exploring, whether it's, politics and fighting, or, cosmic horror, Lovecraft elements in there. There's just so much here exploring this world and this nature as we go on the journey with Hanuvar. I'm still reading the second book, which is also really, really good so far, but I love this. Definitely recommend checking it out. It's longer, but it's very it's paced very, very well, and very easy to get through as well. So one I highly recommend. And then moving up to number 3 was another one I was not expecting to love as much as I did, but here it is, and I know I'm not alone. The Will of the Many by James Islington, or Islington. I never know if I'm saying his name right. But this is the first book of Hierarchy. Now, I was a big fan of his Lycanius trilogy, even though it was definitely flawed. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it, and it's a series that I do recommend and have talked about a lot. But this being described as kind of having some, Roman feel, having a school setting, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. And then I ended up absolutely loving it. This feels so justified to me having it up this high. Normally the books that are like super popular and that like everybody loves, I'm like, eh. This one, I got here early. I read an e-arc of this. I loved it. I've seen almost nobody who had anything less than glowing with this, so it seems to be one of those ones that works. So if you, I always tell people, if you didn't like this, let me know. I'm just curious because I haven't, like, somebody has to not like this book. It can't be universally liked. No book is universally liked, but just absolutely great. We do have a school setting kind of, but we're following a character who's also there from a place that was a member of royalty from a place that was overtaken, and the hierarchy controls everything. It's this magic system where you give basically part of your will, and it builds up to other people to make them stronger in this kind of pyramid way. And it's absolutely great. The world building, the magic, the mysteries and things that are set up, the way that it has some things you'd expect trope-wise, but also just turns them in a very different direction. Everything about this, I've never seen an author take such a big leap from their debut trilogy to then their second. I enjoyed Lycanius, but this is this author on the top of his game. I absolutely cannot wait to continue. Fantastic. I'm assuming a lot of people, like I said, are familiar, but if you're not, check it out. It's great. Everybody seems to love it, and yeah, there we go. And so, I didn't specify rules at the beginning of this either, where normally I'd probably do one book per author. I definitely one per series, and if you've seen my other ones where I was doing top 10 books of quarters, there was always some Wars of Light and Shadow in there as well. And so what I had to do is with 1 and 2, I went with To Ride Hell's Chasm and Stormed Fortress, this is Wars of Light and Shadow. This is a standalone, and I had to do this because Wars of Light and Shadow is amazing, and you've all heard me talk about it quite a lot. I absolutely love it. It's so hard to pick a favorite book from that series, and I went with Storm Fortress because this was the end of the big arc of the series, and it was so great. And the next 2 books are also just fantastic as well. And it's just so hard to pick a favorite because I've loved all of the books. And then To Ride Hell's Chasm, which I just finished just barely before the end of the year, and I knew I wanted to, which is probably one of my favorite standalones of all time at this point either. There's so much here, and I either have a review for To Ride Hell's Chasm out, or it's about to be out, depending on when this video comes out, but just a phenomenal book, and I'll talk in quite a lot of detail there. Janie Wirtz is just my favorite current author. Probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite authors of all time. I love her series. Wars of Light and Shadow is my favorite series of all time. To Ride Hell's Chasm may be my favorite standalone of all time. It's definitely in that conversation. So much here that I absolutely love. Cannot recommend you check out Janie Wirtz enough. She does not get nearly enough love. She's starting to get at least some attention. Some people are trying out some of the stuff, and I love to see it. It's just been a revelation in my favorites in my reading this year. So a year that heavily featured Janie Wirtz. Not surprising to see it here. I've read almost all of her things. I have one other standalone short story collection, and then the Empire trilogy with Raymond Feist, and then that's it. So that makes me a little bit sad. But of course, my most anticipated book probably ever, Song of the Mysteries, is coming out in 2024, and I cannot wait for that either. But so there's those. I think I technically put this as 2 and this is 1, but they're kind of interchangeable. I feel like this wins out just because it's the end of an arc and it's a later book in a series, and there's just so much going on. But Hell's Chasm, also just absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, I'll talk more about once we get to that review. So there you have it. I know most of these are books I've talked about quite a lot, so I feel like probably not a lot of surprises, but some of them are surprises to me that I ended up enjoying them as much as I did. Let me know what some of your favorite things were in 2023, your thoughts on any of these, if there's any of these that you're going to check out, hopefully, or that you loved, or if you didn't read some of these and they weren't for you too. Always curious to hear different thoughts as well, so definitely let me know your thoughts on my top 10, and let me know what some of your favorites were as well in the comments. I'd always love to hear from you. That's it for this one. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord. If you want to chat books, whether any of these books, any books, or really anything at all, it's a lot of fun. We'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.